coaching staff will go back and look at it and make sure as you look at that attention to detail, are you in the right spot?
Gets up, pressing beyond the three-point arc. Poole outside to Curry, touch and shoot for three.
The last 2 seasons, the Golden State Warriors have not had the services of Klay Thompson. And if I'm Steph Curry, who went to 5 consecutive NBA finals, who won 3 championships in that period of time, and I had to suffer what I had to suffer through the last 2 years, the only person hungrier than me, or just as hungry as me, might be Draymond Green. That's about it. They can't wait for Klay to come back. Klay can't wait to come back. And Klay, one of the top 5 shooters in basketball history, and a Hall of Famer already, the opportunity that Steph is looking at for them to reunite, with everybody talking about the Lakers and the Clippers and Phoenix and all of this other stuff, Lord have mercy. Look out for the Golden State Warriors. They are coming.
Steph Curry, I'm going to need a lower third for him pretty soon, the way you have it for LeBron, Stephen A., because I'm accused of being a lower third. I'm going to need one for Steph when I talk about him, the way you need one for LeBron. Great family man, philanthropist, et cetera, et cetera. Because I'm accused of being a Steph Curry hater. One of my favorite players in any sport ever to watch, a miraculous player to put your eyes on. I point out that something like in overtime, in a winner-go-home game this season, it's not just that they lost. He scored 0 points. I just pointed that out. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's a great player. But I point that out.
I just think it's important, Max, that you remind people at the time you had more hair, no crew cut on the side, and you didn't have any facial hair. That's the last time. That's when that was going on with Steph Curry. I just want to let the world know that.
No. I mean this season. This season when they made the play-in game.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
The reason that doesn't even occur to you because it wasn't reported. No one noticed it. But in overtime, in a winner-go-home game, this season, he scored 0 points. And no one bats an eye. Could you imagine if that was LeBron James, who scored 0 points in overtime of a winner-go-home game? We would be killing him. And that's because LeBron is compared to the GOAT, Michael Jordan. He is playing against a ghost for the title of greatest of all time. He's running out of time. He's getting up there in age. He has a super team around him, even though it's imperfect parts, but it's still super talented. You always bring up, if I say, hey, could Steph ever be the greatest player ever? You talk about his height, and you'd be right. He's 6'3". He's the greatest 6'3" or under player ever, but because he's 6'3", he ain't ever going to be the greatest player who ever lived. Right? He's already reached the mountaintop of what he's capable of doing in terms of his own legacy that way.
We thought that coming into last year. And look at what he did last year.
Because he's great. He was as good as he's ever been. And he's great. But he is not challenging MJ. That's what LeBron's up against. He does not have 6 championships. He does have a super team around him. No excuses. He is LeBron James. He's facing the most pressure, like we were just talking about, and he's got to be the most motivated.
I'm going to say something to you, Max Kellerman. I think you need to buckle your seatbelt for what I'm about to say because it's really true. You're right. Steph doesn't compare to MJ. Size and height has something to do with it. His lack of defensive prowess has a lot to do with it because he certainly was not even close to the defender that Michael Jordan did. But offensively, I can make a conversation that Steph Curry is in the conversation of MJ. We have never seen a shooter this phenomenal. Ever. And let's understand. And see, he didn't have the aerial assault. He didn't have the aerial arsenal that Michael Jordan had. Couldn't finish at the basket the way Michael Jordan could or whatever. Steph Curry, we usually see offensive players, Max, and with the exception of a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain that's over 7 feet tall and dominant because of their height and size and the skyhook, of course, we usually look at guys, and there's not a single player that we look at and we say Michael Jordan couldn't do that. We didn't see LeBron. We don't see LeBron. We didn't see Kobe, Vince Carter, or anybody else do anything that we felt Michael Jordan couldn't do offensively. Michael Jordan couldn't shoot like that.
Well, if you want to say...
Nobody could shoot like that.
If you want, no doubt, if you want to say foot for foot, Steph is the best offensive player ever, fine. But
no,
you know what else Michael Jordan couldn't do?
I'm not saying he's the best. I'm just saying that as an offensive talent, because of Steph Curry's marksman ability, because of his ability to just shoot with his eyes closed. We made a big deal about what Michael Jordan did at the free throw line, closing his eyes and hitting the free throw against the Kemba Mutombo and the Atlanta Hawks. We are seeing Steph Curry shoot 40-foot jump shots.
Okay,
with
let me ask you a different way.
We can't say anything.
Is there any universe ever where Michael Jordan could play overtime of a winner-go-home game and score 0 points in any universe? It would never happen. It happened to Steph. No one bats an eye. I'm not bringing it up to hate on Steph. I'm bringing it up to say the standards are different for Steph because he's shorter than a guy like LeBron.
Let's not just point shorter. Let's point the fact that, again, because you're relatively smaller, his movement without the ball, you're required to do all of that because you ain't posting anybody up. You got to run through picks and screens. You got somebody that constantly has their hand on you. You're not 6'6", 220. You're not LeBron 6'9", 260. I'm just saying, the point is the physicality can get to you. I understand that. So that's why I'm saying I wouldn't say better. But when you talk about pure skill as it pertains to whatever your skill set may be, Steph Curry is in the conversation as one of the greatest offensive players to have ever played basketball, simply because in no era have we ever seen somebody. Yeah, we've seen spot-up shooters. We've seen jump shooters. We've seen catch-and shooters, those guys. But in terms of dribbling the basketball and creating your own shot off the dribble, along with all of those things that I just mentioned,
range.
There has never, ever, ever been a shooter and I go back to days, Max, downtown Freddie Brown, Dale Ellis. You understand what I'm saying? It was before Ray Allen, Allen Houston, Reggie Miller, Chris Mullin, and all of these boys. Ricky Pierce and those crew. I mean, the list goes to Andrew Toney. You remember that. I mean, the list goes on and on. We have never, ever, ever seen anyone in the history of basketball that can shoot like this brother right now.
Didn't have Kyrie or Kevin Love. Still went 6 games. Stop. By the way, he wasn't MVP of that series. Like, they looked at, we can't give this to Steph. All right, give it to the guy who guarded LeBron. Iguodala got it. And then he lost a 73-win season to LeBron. And then they added KD. Steph was no longer the best player on the team. And they won 2 championships. He's played in 5 finals, has yet to win a finals MVP. Come on, Damian Lillard, we see it with our eyes. He hasn't been on teams like Steph's been on. Not even close. But Damian Lillard, from this era so far, is one of the most clutch performers, period. He might be the most clutch performer. Even last night was bananas. Not his fault guys were missing shots. No, in the playoffs when it matters most, Stephen A., you know what Steph did, win or go home? In overtime, the reason they're not still playing when they needed him to be at his best? 0 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds in the last 3:30 of overtime. Warriors not playing anymore. Now compare that to what Damian Lillard just did, 55 in double overtime. Kept bringing them back from the dead. Under pressure in the playoffs, it's really not a knock against Steph, but under pressure in the playoffs, easily Damian Lillard.
Not for me. We're analyzing it differently. No surprise there. But I will tell you this. Here's what I think you're missing. When you look, last night was a perfect example as to why I wouldn't pick Damian Lillard. And I believe that Damian Lillard is arguably, we're talking Michael Jordan status when it comes to clutch. This brother, you put the ball in his hands. Damian Lillard is something to behold. And next to Steph Curry, there's nobody that is his equal as a point guard in the NBA. From a marksmanship standpoint, I get all of that. He's that elite. It's a close call. But here's why I picked Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry is the greatest shooter God has ever created. Damian Lillard even concedes that, number one.
No doubt.
Number 2, Steph Curry's movement without the ball and what it creates for teammates, particularly those who can make shots, cannot go unnoticed. Last night was an example. Damian Lillard himself was spectacular, but everybody around him had contested shots. Everyone. nobody is necessarily getting open because Damian Lillard will give it to you. He got the ball in his hands and he'll shoot and he'll take you down. But with Steph Curry, because of his movement without the basketball and how frightening he is due to his range, it not only forces defenses to extend, but it creates a level of paranoia because you literally have to watch, where is he? Where is he? Hold on. I'll let you speak. Hold on. You got to have your head on a swivel, watching for everybody else. And then with Steph Curry, he scares you so much. You literally watched Memphis concede and the Lakers concede. The hell with everybody else. And literally put 3 and 4 guys on him in pivotal plays, daring anybody else to shoot just so he wouldn't. And those kind of things, that's when it comes to shooting, even when Steph doesn't shoot, because of the paranoia he creates, because of his movement without the basketball, why I would always pick him above anybody else when it comes to shooting.
I think those are excellent points. I'm not going back against those points. I agree with those points. Here's the problem, Stephen A. However you want to slice it, I saw a 73-win team with the fate of the universe on the line against the LeBron James team trying to be the greatest team ever, beat the Bulls 72-win season. You got to win the championship. They're at home. They have the greatest half-court offense in history. Steph is the conductor of that offense. They went the last 4 minutes and 22 seconds in the fourth quarter without scoring a point, and Steph was awful.
Hold it.
And they lost that. Hold on, that's one. Two, I just mentioned the 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. Stephen A., here's the bottom line. If Steph had Damian Lillard's clutch gene, we wouldn't be asking, is he the GOAT shooter? We know he is. Or among the GOAT point guards. If Steph had Lillard's clutch gene, he'd be in the GOAT conversation, period.
Hold on.
If he was performing under pressure like Damian Lillard, he'd be in the GOAT conversation.
But Damian Lillard is not in the GOAT conversation for whatever reason. So the point is, that's either here nor there. The point is negated. At the end of the day, Damian Lillard, I'm not holding it against him, but Damian Lillard once got swept by Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday. I'm not holding that against him. You keep bringing up the 73-win season. You keep bringing up stuff about Clay from years ago. From Steph from years ago. Yeah, all of those things are to be acknowledged. There are things that we could acknowledge in the past about Damian Lillard too. It doesn't take away from their greatness. They're both phenomenal. They're